Hey guys, so it's Saturday afternoon and I'm outside at my complex again. Let me just make sure I'm adjusted here. It's literally, I think, 115 degrees. It is so hot and it sucks, but I know you're probably sick of me complaining about the weather. I'm sure it's hot many places you live, and like I said, I cannot wait for the fall. I guess a little check-in. Nikko and I both were pretty sick the last week, so I apologize if I haven't been myself. Lack of sleep. He had a very high fever and I got a fever too, but you know, I can handle it better than he can, and he was just so irritable and sensitive and pretty much crying nonstop about every little thing and just did not feel good. And you know, with what I've noticed with Nikko, the past 3 fevers he's had, he'll like see things. He hallucinates, and I've researched it that some kids can't have that, because the first time it happened, it totally freaked me out. But his next pediatrician, I did call the doctor and they said it was fine, totally normal, but we're gonna go over it more next time I see him at Nikko's next appointment. But I just feel so bad, you know. He caught one of his little friends cold and he's been sick. I'm still pretty sick. I've had this tickle in my throat. But yeah, that's what we've been doing. And we made it to the American River today. Got some outside nature time early, because once it's like after 12 noon or 1 o'clock, it's 100 degrees. So you definitely want to be inside. But yeah, it was very beautiful. I'll probably post pictures on my social media. And we got to, you know, swim in the river, and it was a lot of fun, and the boys loved it, and we had a great time. And I feel like that was really good for my mental health, because I've kind of been in a funk too, you know, but I'm doing okay. And things are going all right. So I know my last jail story, or the jail series, I didn't read a letter, so I'm going to read 2 this episode. And I'm going to read 1 now. I'm just picking these at random, and then we'll read 1 at the end. And I'm trying to think of anything going on. Oh yes, and I know I posted something about anti-heroes, and I guess I was just too excited. It was premature, and I was not, I think I mentioned this last video, I wasn't supposed to post it, so I took it down. But then I got a revised clip, which I'm allowed to post now, so I will do that probably later today or tomorrow. But it's on track. It is on track, and it's coming out early September, so I'm very excited, and it just looks fucking amazing. And I know how much Ryan really wanted to get it done, and how much it meant to him to get a second book out. So it's very dear to my heart as well to make sure that happens. But yeah, that's exciting. And then the doc is going to follow shortly after. I've mentioned all this, but again, probably this heat makes me loopy, guys, and it makes me grouchy too. I hate the heat. It gets me grouchy. Okay, so let's see. This feels like it has something hard in it. This one is from when he was at Santa Barbara County Jail, because it says Santa Barbara, and I recognize the address from being there myself. Let's see. It might just be like a card. Oh, this is sweet. Okay, so let's look. I think I read that one last time, or showed you guys. But this is some art he had made in there and sent me. It's like on a thicker piece of paper. Okay, and that's it. So I'm gonna go ahead and read this one to you guys. Kind of all over the place, so excuse me if I take pauses. It says Baby Booze. Oh, this is dated January 28th of 2018. So he'd been in there for almost 2 months at this point. Baby Booze, I love you so much. I love our future, and that I will finally have the family I've always wanted. You're everything I've ever dreamed about, and so much more. Nikko and I are the luckiest guys in the world. Every time I hear your voice on the phone, it makes my heart beat differently. I've fallen so madly in love with you. I couldn't even imagine a future without you. I know we are going to have a special life together with our son. I just love thinking about holidays, trips, and just quiet days when the three of us are together at home watching movies. Thank you, baby, for every sacrifice you've made and for not giving up on our love. It feels good to be on this journey together, and I'll always appreciate you. I love laughing with you. You really are my best friend and soulmate, and now we are family. I'll always protect you and Nikko. I'll always be in love with you both. Someday we are going to be grandparents together, and I literally wouldn't want that with anyone else. I love you so much, Booze, Nikko, and I worship you. Your future husband, Ryan. So that's that. So, that's sweet. I'm so glad I kept all this stuff, really. Okay, so I'll read another one towards the end. Sorry, my sunglasses like keep sweating off. Ugh, I don't know. Sorry, I'm not wearing makeup. Went swimming in the river, but we'll keep them on. Spare you guys. Okay, so where we had left off, sorry, I got a haircut yesterday and some pieces are really short. We left off, not yesterday, but in our last story was we were on our way to Victorville. Frank, Diane, myself, and Nikko. Nikko was about 2 months old, and he was going to visit Ryan for the first time, and we went to Victorville, which I want to say is about 5 to 6 hours from Santa Barbara each way. So it was a long journey, but worth it, and we were excited to see him because it was the first time he was going to meet Nikko, and it was the first time myself, Frank, and Diane were going to see him besides a court setting. We were actually going to sit and talk with him. You know, we haven't had that chance until this point. So like I told you guys, we kind of had issues getting in through security, but Frank saved the day and went and got me some flat closed-toed shoes at some local dollar store or something. And we made it. So, you know, we made it to this big room. It just reminded me of like a big multi-purpose room, like a large cafeteria room, like, you know, from like high school. That's like how it seemed. And that's probably what it was, their cafeteria room. I'm not sure. But I remember walking in. Well, I remember walking through the jail and just being petrified. Like, this is a real deal jail. This ain't no fucking county jail. Like, this is gnarly. You know, this is shit you see in the movies. But I remember walking in, and you know, you see tons of correctional officers, bailiffs, police, whatever they're called, probably a mix. And you know, they tell you basically, you check in with them, who you're there to see, and okay, you're gonna be seated over here, and it's just like little fold out chairs and little circles arranged, no table or anything, and they're all spread out, you know. And there's tons of people there. I'd say probably close to 50 different families there to visit their loved ones, and we're all just waiting anxiously to see them. And you know, then you hear the door like just slam open, and it's so loud, it like creaks open, and you know it's them. And I honestly had butterflies. I hadn't seen Ryan. You know, it was, I don't know, wondering how it was gonna be him see Nikko for the first time. I didn't know what to expect, I guess, but I did have butterflies, and I felt nervous. I remember that. And you know, we locked eyes the moment I saw him, and I couldn't help but smile, and he was smiling, and he was so excited. You know, he just walked the fastest I've ever seen him walk. Like, once they were out of their shackles, because they bring them in like the shackles, and they're wearing like these khaki jumpsuits. They wore the khaki there. I remember that. And they, you know, unshackle them and then tell them, basically give them permission to go sit with their family. And I've never seen him walk that fast in my life. And he came right over, and he hugged his parents first because they were right there. And it seemed like he kind of went through that real fast because he really just wanted to give me a hug and a kiss. So we were able to give each other a hug and a kiss as I was holding Nikko, and you know, he stares down at Nikko, and I felt so awkward, I guess, you know, being in the setting, and I just was like, here, take him. I didn't know what to do, and he was like, okay. So he put his arms out, and held Nikko for the first time. And, you know, he sat down and he held Nikko for a little bit, and he just, you know, couldn't stop staring at him. And, you know, considering the setting we were in, it's obviously not perfect, far from it, but it was very special, you know, and I'll never forget that day. How adoringly he looked at Nikko, and it just looked like he fell in love with him instantly. And Nikko was pretty okay. Like, he wasn't crying, you know. He was so used to being in my arms all the time, but he let him hold him, and it was cool. But eventually, you know, I took him back, and I was holding him, and we were just talking, and, you know, I honestly can't remember everything we talked about. I think we went over, like, a list of things he needed with Frank, or articles he needed, or paperwork. You know, they were doing all that, and just catching up, you know. And I want to say we had maybe like an hour, but I just remember all of us being in good spirits and laughing and, you know, cracking jokes, and we were all just very happy. It was a joyous moment. And then we had the opportunity to take those jail pictures. And I'm so bummed that I never got to see them, ever. Like, they gave them to Ryan when he was at Victorville, and I told him to mail them to me, but he wanted to hold on to them. And then when they transferred him from Victorville, he went to Wasco. When they transferred him, I think they got left behind, so he lost them, and I never got to see them, but I really wish I did. I can only imagine, you know, so we all took turns, you know, just me, Nikko, and Ryan, and then Frank and Diane and Ryan, and all of us together, you know, switching it up. But I remember, like, they have those painted backgrounds where it's like a waterfall or a mountain, and it's just really cheesy looking, but it was, I don't know, it just made me laugh, but it was cute at the same time, if that makes sense. And, you know, we got to take these pictures, and then we got maybe another 10 minutes, and before we knew it, time was up, and that was it, you know. And pretty much said our goodbyes and hugged each other and kissed each other. And you're only supposed to, I don't even know if you're supposed to kiss, but he like shoved his tongue down my throat, and I kind of held back because I thought I was going to get in trouble, but I just remember that, and felt like we were teenagers. It was funny. But we said our goodbyes, and then, no, they have you like separate. They're on the other side of the room, or the opposite side of the room, and we're all the way over here on the other side of the room, and we're waiting basically like in single file lines to, we're going this way and they're going that way back to the jail on opposite sides of the room. And, you know, the whole time Ryan's across the room, he's like telling his friends, and they're all like laughing and happy because they got to see their family. You can tell they were really happy, and that just meant so much to them. So if you have loved ones incarcerated, please go visit them. And I wish I had more opportunities to visit Ryan, but it just didn't happen because of all the transfers, and you have to wait a certain amount of time, or this or that. It just never got to happen, unfortunately. That one time was the only time. But, you know, he was so proud of us. He was beaming and pointing at us, and then I hear him, "Bye, baby. I love you, baby." You know, being Ryan, and I'm like kind of like getting shy and embarrassed too. Seriously felt like a high school love story or something. And, you know, I'm like trying, because they were like, "Hey, no talking," you know, of course you're not supposed to do that. So I'm trying to like wave, but not, because I don't want to get yelled at. And then they start taking them and they leave. And then we're next, and we leave. And we have to walk through that dreaded prison, and just made me so sad leaving him behind there. How I wished I could have brought him home with us. And that was pretty much our visit, you know, short and sweet. And then, you know, we had our long journey home, and Frank and Diane were in good spirits too. They were happy to see Ryan, but I know that was hard for them, seeing their son like that. I mean, I can't even imagine, God forbid. But I would always be there for my boys no matter what. So we drove the long 6 hours home, and you know, at that point it was nighttime, and Frank and Diane dropped me off and we said our goodbyes, but we had plans to hang out. You know, we started bonding more and having where we, you know, they'd come pick me up because I didn't have my license, I didn't have a car. They would come get Nikko and I, and we'd go over there, I want to say once a week, watch a movie, hang out, talk about everything, plans for the future, etc., etc., and you know, just bonding time with Nikko. And I remember at that point Diane definitely was doing all right, much better, and she loved spending time with Nikko, and she loved holding him and hanging out with him and playing with him, and you could just tell how much she loved her grandson. Not saying Frank didn't, but Diane was just like, you know, that's how she was with Ryan too. And it makes me sad how it is now. But so we parted ways, and of course, you know, actually on the drive home, I'm sure Ryan, he actually did call me probably like 2 or 3 times. I'm like, we're not home yet. Yes, it was nice seeing you, but wait till, you know, we should be home later. Call me like before you go to before they cut off the phones, basically, because they cut off the phones, I want to say like 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock is when they cut off the phones at Victorville. But that's where also we could use core links, where we would email each other. It was like a texting system for just basically sending like messages that way, and he would do that all the time. So he, you know, called me. Eventually I was home and getting Nikko to bed, and you know, we were both kind of on cloud 9, and it was just a good day. It was a good day. The visit behind us, I mean, we just continued what we were doing. He was at Victorville, and I was continuing to raise Nikko by myself pretty much. And sorry, this tickle in my throat. I'm telling you guys, I need a cough drop. But he started to have issues at Victorville, and I can't wait to get into the series where he talks about it. But from what I remember, he was having issues because, you know, you get in, again, my prison lingo, I don't know this shit. All I know is what Ryan told me, and even at this point I've forgotten some of, you know, the lingo. Like, I didn't know commissary. I like forgot commissary, basic shit like that. But they got, you know, when you get there, you go with the whites, you go with the norteños, sureños, or whatever, the blacks, etc., etc. You're all grouped off based on like race. And he was with the whites, obviously, but the like lead guy wanted him to basically shank someone. I forget why, but he was putting pressure on him every day to basically, like, you have to shank this guy to prove yourself, and blah blah blah. And Ryan, you know, kept acting like he was gonna do it, you know, of course, yeah, I got, like, don't worry, it's gonna happen, you know, talking his way out of it, just trying to buy time. But then he would tell me on the phone how he's not gonna do it, he doesn't want to, because he's gonna get years at it if he does. He's like, I just want to get back to my family, like, I don't want any fucking trouble. And I'm like, please don't do it either, you know. But when you're in prison, I mean, sometimes you're forced to do that kind of shit, or they're gonna kill you. It's fucking scary and crazy. So also, I lived with fear almost every day too, not knowing, like, if I were gonna get a phone call like, yes, he was stabbed 20 times, or, you know, who knows. So I honestly had fear almost every day he was in prison, just worried sick about him. I just remember wanting him to get home to us so badly, to be a family. And at this point, we still didn't know exactly when he was going to get out. It was depending on certain things, because there was issues with Santa Barbara County and running his time concurrently. But eventually, you know, I don't know, I got a phone call from Ryan, and again, he was like, you know, crying and hysterical, and I'm like, oh my God, what the fuck happened now, you know? And he basically told me he got jumped. He got jumped by that guy and some of the other white guys. because he hadn't shanked this guy yet, and they just thought he was bullshitting. So they basically jumped his ass, and you know, the guards came and got him, and he got separated from them, and he was in like one of those holding tanks, and pretty much were telling him, you know, it's up to you if you want to go back to general population or if you want to go to PC, protective custody. And it's just such a big deal in there, and it's so frowned upon and looked down if you go into PC. Like, I think it's stupid. I mean, depending what you go in there for. Like, if you're a child molester or rapist, then yeah, fuck them up, of course. But if you're just trying to not do time, not do drama because you want to get back to your family, that is way more being a man than going to general population, in my opinion. And that's all he wanted. That's all he wanted, was just to get back to us, you know? But I just knew, no, he didn't want to like have people disown him. His other like friend inmates that he did time with in the past were gonna look down on him, and it just weighed so much on him, and he couldn't decide. And eventually, I think what happened was he wanted to go back for like pictures of me or something, he said. And they're like, we don't advise you to do that. You have to be in general population if you're going to go back and get the pictures. For some reason, they couldn't bring them to him. I don't know. It was weird. There was some weird reason why. They're fucking weird in there and assholes and make things just, like, it doesn't make sense, you know? So he decided to go back for the pictures, and he got jumped again. So then at this point, he was just kind of over it after that incident and decided to do PC. And that was that. Then he was, you know, taken out of general population, and didn't have to deal with those guys anymore, and had pressure put on him about shanking people so he could do another, I don't know, 10 years or whatever. And I felt relief. You know, I was like, good, I don't want you in general population with all that shit going on. So I was relieved that he just finally decided to do that. It just felt safer, like a safer environment for him. So I'm happy he did that. And that was pretty much it. You know, I'm trying to think of what else really happened at Victorville. I mean, after that, it was pretty low key, and not much more was happening. You know, it's just the same shit day to day. He's doing his prison life, I'm doing mom life, and we would talk on the phone every day, write each other. I'd send him pictures and take care of anything that he needed basically on the outside. And you know, I remember also out of, you know, me and Paul were talking a lot during this time too. You know, Paul Harper, Ryan's best friend, who passed away unfortunately. He, out of all of Ryan's friends, you know, reached out the most. I mean, everyone did kind of in the beginning, and then they pretty, you know how it is, then everyone just fades away and goes on with their life. Some friends didn't even reach out. They just wanted a break from him, and I get it, and I don't. But Paul was a diehard for Ryan, and he never gave up on him. Sorry, like a bike gang's going by right now. Let them pass by. Sorry, guys. Paul was a diehard for Ryan and would reach out to me all the time, and you know, he wrote Ryan a lot too, and he got to talk to Ryan a couple times on the phone, and you know, he was like, I don't really have money to put on, you know, my phone for him to call me, because you have to set up an account and put money on your account so they can call you. And I think Sophia eventually took care of it for him, but they were able to talk a couple of times, and I could just tell you that Paul loved Ryan so much and cared about him so much. But I guess my point about this is when Ryan's addiction past, you know, the addiction past of him being a severe addict was brought to my attention. Again, you know, how could you not know? Well, fuck, I had my own life. It's like, we didn't even meet till our early 30s. We grew up in the same town. It is a small town, but we ran in different crowds. Like, we had mutual friends, but it is possible. I didn't know shit about him. But Paul brought up to me in one of our messages on Messenger. That's how we would communicate a lot of the time, because I'd be so busy with Nikko. And he's like, well, what's Ryan's plan gonna be? Because, you know, he's such a severe addict. What's his plan gonna be when he gets out, you know? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, he's fine. Yeah, he struggled in the past, like with our alcoholism, and he had that one relapse, but he's totally sober now in jail, which he was not. And I found out a lot of this shit later, and through some of these reaction videos I'm finding. And that can be kind of shocking to me, but, you know, I'm learning to just process it and let it go, even if it's hurtful. But, you know, I strongly believe that he was staying sober in prison, because he told me that. And when I talked to him on the phone, he acted very loving and sober. And sounds like that bike gang's in here. They might be. Shit. Oh no, that's a truck. So it just got my mind, you know, spinning a little bit. Like, what the hell is he talking about? And he's like, no, Ryan is a severe addict. He's been a severe addict his whole life that I've known him. I'm like, was just so confused. Like, no, you're wrong. No, he's not, you know, like, we kind of argued about it. But then I really started to think about it, you know, and that's when it was kind of brought to my attention, and Ryan and I talked about it. But he assured me, like, it's not going to be a problem for the future now that he's a father. But that was kind of a turning point for me to really be pretty much enlightened of his past, because again, I didn't know I hate this word, but that he was such a junkie or drug addict or whatever. And that's kind of when I kind of found out, you know, and I was worried a little bit, but he would seem to be doing so good in there that I believed his promises that wouldn't ever happen, you know. So anyway, I guess I'm gonna leave it there, because we're basically closing out Victorville, unless something comes up in my mind later about it. But that's pretty much what happened in Victorville. I mean, those were the highlights: the visit and him getting jumped, and us continuing to speak every day, and you know, Core Links, when I got to get familiar with Core Links, and that was pretty much it, you know. And next, that would complete his federal time. So next he had to do the state time, and they had to ship him up north to Wasco, because I guess that's where everyone goes first when you're doing state prison time. You go to Wasco first. So that, you know, was a whole nother ball game, and we will get into that in our next story. But I promised I would read another letter, since I fucked up and didn't last time. And I've been melting out here for you guys. I hope you appreciate it. I'm just kidding, but I am sweating like a pig right now. Okay, so that's another Santa Barbara. Let me see if I can find one from like Victorville or Wasco. Centinela. What is this one? Santa Barbara. Federal Correctional Institution. That's San Bernardino. Hold on, guys. Give me a minute. If not, I'll just read whatever. But I'm trying here. Centinela. That one's cut off. The hell's this? Oh yeah, and Wasco, I didn't get too much mail from him, which we'll talk about in the next story, is because for 30 days, no phone calls, no mail, no communication. So I didn't know if he was okay or not. But here is one from Wasco, actually. So this must have been after, I forget what it's called. It's called like, not registration, maybe it is, or something like that. I'll have to research it, or maybe he'll mention it in a letter. But where for 30 days, you can't have any communication. The first 30 days you're there with anyone. So that was really hard. Okay, so this is dated August 12th of 2018. Hi, Booba and Baby Boos. I was so sad when they told me I was leaving. I was really looking forward to our visit. See, I guess I was planning to visit him in Wasco, and they moved him. We just had such bad luck. It sucks. Yes, our visit. I was literally counting the seconds, but I'm here and getting closer to coming home. I think maybe him leaving Victorville. That's what it is. But we had more visits planned and they always just never happen. But I'm here and getting closer to coming home. I hope you and baby Booze are okay. I think about you guys all the time. This place is gnarly and horrible. It's so weird here, Bugaboos. We can only shower a couple times a week and they are group showers. We get, what? We get you a week. We get you, I don't know what this says, an hour a week. And get this, we aren't allowed to work out. Oh yeah, he loved to work out in there. And store is once a month, depending on your number. My number can't go until 5 weeks from now. I don't have hygiene or coffee or anything. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, I remember that. I hope we can get on someone else's books by next Tuesday. Oh yeah, so that, I remember that. So we would work ways around it, you know, like he said, he couldn't go for 5 weeks, but I could put money on someone else's books, like one of his homies in there, and they would get stuff for him. You know, they would help each other out that way, which was cool. They had each other's back. When you're in hell like that, you have to. By next Tuesday. I'll give you the info at the end of the letter, but don't send any more or less. If I miss that next week, I won't have store for 5 weeks. It's crazy, Booze. And we get 1 phone call a month, but you need to set up the calls before I call. It's $2.50 a call. So you only need to put like $5 to $10. And I only have 1 shot to call you Friday night. So get it up beforehand. You can use an app called Telelink. I think this info is on the Wasco website. I can get books, softcover books, and magazines, but they need to come from the publisher. I can also get 20 stamps and 20 envelopes. Oh yes, I remember I would send him envelopes and stamps. Just need to be in separate manila envelopes. Stamps in one and envelopes in the other. Limit of 20 each. Please send some ASAP. I will write you every day and let the usual suspects know about stamps and envelopes, meaning his mom and dad. Envelopes. Here is my new address. Copy exactly like this, boo-boos. Ryan Leone, CDCR, BH0233-H4-198 Low, Wasco State Prison, P.O. Box 9900, 93280. I miss you like crazy. Seriously, babe. Every time we have this radio silence, I feel empty inside. I'm so in love with you, and being apart makes me super sad. I hope you're okay, Booze. And be sure to tell baby Booze how much his daddy loves him. I have to keep this short, but I promise to write every day. We have a wonderful future ahead of us, and I love you both with all my heart. I have sets too, I have sets too, but can't spend it for 5 weeks. I don't know what he means by that. I need 50 cents to Timothy, and then some inmates info. This is probably for the commissary, but I don't know what he's talking about. Seth. I have sets too, but can't spend it for 5 weeks. Oh, maybe Seth. Oh, I think Seth put money on his books. I put money on his books, but he couldn't go to store. That's what he probably means, because Seth looked out for Ryan in there too. But here he is just giving me the guy's info. He needs $50 sent to Timothy D. Hoover. It gives his number. This is all I need for 5 weeks. Need it done by this weekend. I'll call Friday. Love you so fucking much. The most. You are my entire world, Booze. It's hard to read sometimes. And then, you know how you would write on the back. Love you, Nikko, with all my heart. Almost every envelope had something on the back of it. But, alright guys, I'm melting. But as usual, thank you so much. And thank you for your patience with me. And, you know, understanding that sometimes I'm not myself and life happens, and I had a sick kid, and I know I've been posting different days, not my usual Wednesday, Sunday, but I try the hardest I can. And, you know, new things are going to be happening soon with the book and with the doc. And we've already discussed it, Seth and I and Frank, and Patreon is pretty much going to get all the first updates about it before anyone else. So you guys are going to know exactly when it's released. Like this new clip I'm going to upload is going to you guys first. I wasn't supposed to release the other one because it wasn't what he wanted. Like it wasn't perfected yet. So he wants everything perfect, and I'm okay. Like I'm happy to hear that. But you guys are going to know before everyone. You're going to know the actual release date. You're going to know, you know, see all these little clips and whatever about the book before anyone else. So more on that to come. But again, like I was saying, you know, I apologize. Just bear with me sometimes. I go through these funks and, you know, just with grief. And again, I don't always want to be like, poor me, but it's what I'm going through. You know, I lost my partner and the father of my children, and it's only been a year, and it's interesting navigating grief. But I'll stop complaining and ranting. But anyway, guys, as always, you know, I love ya. Thank you so much. It's been real. And of course, as always, palabra.